Hello, this is Gerald Scarzella, and this is my proposal for an emerging technology for my classroom in Ketchikan High School. And as you can tell from the title, it's Visualizing Mathematics with 3D Printing. And so this is a pretty cool, innovative technology nowadays. I tried to make a nice photo on the front, but it looks like a little pixelated, but that's okay. It's pretty cool though. And the idea is that here is our district's vision statement. Every student acquires the skills and knowledge to succeed. Our mission statement is to provide high quality instruction to every student within a positive environment reflective of our community needs. And our instruction statement reads, our instructional programs must meet the varying needs of all students and prepare them for successful futures as productive citizens in the 21st century. Now, one of the things I do talk about in my proposal is that for the last few years, or actually for quite a while in my career, I've always taught math art. And I think it's one of those areas that doesn't really get taught in school, but basically things like tessellations. Here are some examples of real life tessellations and mosaics around the world, floors, walls, and pillars. And I try to teach those same kind of things in the class with paper and pencil. And so here are some other things I've taught also is what's called Escher type tessellations. This is an example of a lizard that's a tessellation. Each one of these shapes is the same size and shape, just interlocked together, drawn together to like a jigsaw puzzle to tile the whole plane. The same thing here with the Pegasus horse. And so I've actually taught students how to do things like this with their own creations. There are steps to do that, so it's been pretty nice to be able to do that. We've also worked on mandalas, and this is just one I've gotten online, but we've had students create their own, and we worked a little bit on fractals. So those are some of the things that we've worked on in the class already in 2 dimensions with paper, pencil, and colored pencils. So basically pretty cool stuff. But when I started looking into what technology I can use, I really got into this 3D printing because, well, here we go. Actually, I wanted to start out by saying that our community in Ketchikan is very strong culture and community of art. We have a big presence of Southeast Alaska Native tribes that make a lot of totem poles, drums, paddles, masks, and tapestries, their robes and such. And the community itself actually does a lot of art through dance, paintings, drawings, music, photography, crafts, and theater. So we're a very artsy town, so to speak. And so I wanted to try to introduce something that would be contributive to that. And so one of the things I wanted to try to do is incorporate 3D printing. Now, the first person I saw that wanted to do what I would like to do in the class is Henry Segerman. He's actually an assistant professor at the Department of Mathematics at Oklahoma State University, and he specializes in 3D geometry and topology. And so he basically uses a 3D printer to print all these amazing figures, and very intricate but very mathematical. And so that's one of the things that I wanted to be able to teach students, is that they can actually do these sort of things on their own. And a lot of these figures can actually be made different by changing one line of code or some variable in the equation itself. So that's something that I'm keen in trying to learn about and teach about, but this book is actually not out yet. Visualizing Mathematics with 3D Printing is going to actually come out in September of this year, this next month. So I'm going to definitely plan on getting that to learn more about it and look at the examples that he uses and creates. So very cool stuff. The materials I would need basically is a 3D printer. We do actually have a 3D printer in the school, but it's actually not this kind. After doing a little bit of research, there are other types of 3D printers. The one that would be most suited for this kind of project or these projects is what's called a stereolithography or digital light processing printer. But basically what they do is they have a light that is going to project itself on the resin here, and it actually builds the figure up as comes out of the tank of resin. So this is different than the other traditional printers that most schools are probably using now. where it actually has the platform down here, and then it builds one layer on top of the other this way through heating some filament. So this is actually a little bit different technology, but it does provide really great resolution, very good quality, and very smooth. And so that's one of the reasons why I chose this type of 3D printer. And that's the same type, I believe, that Henry uses for a lot of his work up here. So with that in mind, basically, it does come at a premium cost. I did find a website, 3D Forge, that kind of lists quite a few of the good 3D printers out there. The one that I found that was highly rated is an SLA type 3D printer. For under $5,000, you actually get a kit. You get the printer, some resin, a resin tank, building platform, finishing kit, and a 1-year warranty. There are consumables which include the resin and the resin tank, but basically that's just very common for any kind of printer, whether it's ink or toner. You actually have to get resin in this case. The example the thing I wrote here basically is trying to describe how the SLA DLP printers are better than the other type that I talked about earlier about the filament and the heating nozzle and building one layer on top of the other. That's the FDP kind of printer, and they're actually less reliable and less accurate, which is what we don't want for the math art that I'm trying to do. Here is the 3D printer I wanted to get. It's actually the, what did I call? Sorry, it's the Formlabs Form 2. Here it is, Formlabs Form 2. It's actually the second generation of that type of SLA printer, and it does look pretty cool and pretty high tech. And as you can see here, it gets built. Here's a platform up here, so it's actually in the tank itself, and as it builds, it goes up. So it looks like it's coming out already made from the resin. So it's kind of pretty weird that it does that, but that's the technology that it uses. The light and lasers down here and heat up the resin to harden in that case. The other thing we need is some kind of software. Mathematica would be the best one to use for getting some really high detailed sketches of mathematical formulas and equations to be able to print. So the budget here, the kit is actually about $3,500. I did try to incorporate some extra resin, so we have about 12 liters of resin, and you also need a resin tank, and those are consumable as well. So there is enough for 12 liters of resin to make, I don't know how much, but I'll have to figure that out later. Mathematica actually comes as a cloud version, educator price of only about $95 a year. So the grand total is almost $6,000. And so I made a note here that you got to be careful about what you print. It is more expensive than other types of printer material, but they do make great objects through 3D printing. Again, here's a list of all the resources that was provided by LEGO to get some grants and funding for projects. And I also stated that LEGO has a education's guide to grant writing. And so it's a nice way to be able to write grants to be able to get money for the projects here that we're going to do. It would be great to have businesses and organizations contribute as well, but seeing that it would be part of the regular school, I probably wouldn't ask too many people or businesses to contribute, but they could if they would like to. And at this time, along with doing some math art, I did kind of write down some other things we can do with a 3D printer and learn about functions, algebraic equations, recursive formulas, learn about XYZ coordinates, and intersecting objects would also be used for 3D printing. And you can also make manipulatives and basically create anything you want to with a 3D printer. So it's a very awesome emerging technology, and they do say that within 2 to 5 years, 3D printers should be pretty common in the classroom, but somebody's got to take that leap forward to do that, and I'm willing to be able to do that for our school because we can make some pretty awesome math art initially. Thanks for listening. Bye.